Hello out there. Today I want to talk about what a GOM, a gasometer, is, and what it does, how it works, and why it is sometimes so inaccurate. So, what is a GOM? It is an indicator in the dashboard that shows you how far the car can go. So it basically calculates how much range you have left until your battery is empty. It does that by calculating the number based on the amount of battery that you have left and your driving style. So what is the advantage of a GOM? Some cars, for example Teslas, they just tell you how far the car can go based on the EPA rating. So let's say the car is supposed to go 300 miles on a full battery. If the battery is 50%, it will show you the car will go 150 miles no matter the circumstances. A GOM has the advantage that it calculates the range of your car based on the battery obviously and the consumption. So it can tell you far more accurately how far the car can go. That way you can better plan ahead when to do your next charge stop or if you're going to be fine getting to your destination. That range that it displays is based on your personal driving style and the current consumption that the car has. So it's a variable thing that it calculates. However, there's a few things to keep in mind with that, and we'll look at that later. So what is a GOM able to take into consideration into those calculations? Well, how a GOM works is it looks at the past consumption of a while. Let's just say the last 100 miles driven. So it looks at that and takes all the variables of that past 100 miles into consideration. So let's say you've been driving around in town for the last 100 miles and let's say you used 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. So based on that information, it knows that if you have, like, let's say 50% of your battery left, like in the last example, you use 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour. It can calculate that, take the 4.5 miles per kilowatt hour, 50% battery, 32 kilowatt hours left. 32 times 4.5 is 144 miles left. So there's also things that the GOM doesn't know. And what are those things? Well, for example, it doesn't know what's going to come up next. So if you're going to hit the highway and going at high speeds, or if you're going to hit hills or mountains, all these kind of things it doesn't know. So the type of driving, city versus highway driving, for example, it doesn't know how much your speed is going to be or how hard you're going to accelerate. It doesn't know the outside air temperature. So if it's cold, your car is going to use more energy. If it doesn't know other factors like, for example, the style of driving that you do. If you're really, pushing it, flooring it, it doesn't know the tire pressure, for example. It doesn't know if you're going up and downhill, and it doesn't know whether. Is it raining? Is it sunny? Is there snow outside? It doesn't know these things. But these things affect the range of an electric car quite a bit. So why does it seem like the GOM is wrong a lot of times, and why do other people have a higher range than others? So a GOM cannot look into the future. It doesn't know what's going to come up. It only has the experience of the past so many miles. So if you change your driving, like for example from city to highway driving, it doesn't know that, and so it doesn't know how to calculate the range accurately. Also, like mentioned before, it doesn't know what the weather is going to be like, if it's going to be snowy, rainy, or other things. So let's take an example and just see how it works out in a real situation. So let's assume, like most people, most of the time they drive around city for groceries, getting to work and back, local driving. So let's assume that your EV is going to have a consumption of 5 miles per kilowatt hour in that scenario. So for the last 100 miles you drove in the city, and the GOM will indicate that based on 5 miles per kilowatt hour and a battery of 64 kilowatt hours, it will indicate a distance available, a range of 320 miles. That's 5 times 64. Pretty easy and straightforward. Also, in that situation, you're not going to look at your state of charge a lot, because you come home after a few miles and you plug it in, so it's almost pretty much all the time charged fully, or at least high state of battery. You don't have to worry about it because you're not going long distance. So now after a few weeks and more than 100 miles driven of that, like that, the GOM is indicating 320 miles, and now you're going to do a road trip. Because you worked a lot for the last few weeks and you think you deserve it. So you're going to hit the road, pack your car, and you're going to drive to the coast or your cabin in the woods or wherever, and you hit the highway. Well, because you're going faster and EV is less efficient on a highway than in town because of the missing regenerative braking, for example, your consumption will be higher. So let's assume that now all of a sudden your consumption is 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So you hit the highway and you drive, let's say, for 50 miles, and then you look at the GOM and it shows you only 190 miles left. So why is that? It lost 120 miles all of a sudden, just driving 50 miles, because at the beginning of the trip it showed you 320 miles, right? So how does it come up with that number? Well, it looks at the last 100 miles driven. 50 miles of those were city driving with 5 miles per kilowatt hour, and the latest 50 miles you were driving on the highway with 3 miles per kilowatt hour. So that averages out to 4 miles per kilowatt hour on the total. Now, you drove for 50 miles at 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That is 64 kilowatt hours for the whole battery, and we subtract 50 miles divided by 3 is 48 kilowatt hours left in the battery. 48 kilowatt hours times 4 miles per kilowatt hour equals to 192 miles left. So that's how it comes up with that number. Because your consumption goes up, the projected range is going down. Now let's say you keep on driving, and after another 50 miles you look at the GOM, and now it shows you that you have only 90 miles left. Well, what happened? Well, again, looking at the last 100 miles driven, now you've driven 100 miles on the highway at 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Those 3 miles per kilowatt hour, now you used more of your battery. So right now you used 100 miles at 3 kilowatt hours per mile. 3 miles per kilowatt hour. That equals 31 kilowatt hours used of your 64 kilowatt hour battery, which means you have 31 kilowatt hours left, and 33 kilowatt hours used, 31 left, times 3 miles per kilowatt hour equals 93 miles. So now it is actually indicating correctly, because now all of that calculating buffer that it is able to use is filled with accurate driving data for your highway driving. So now it is actually accurate, and you will be able to know exactly how far you can go. So the advantage of that is that the GOM, based on your driving, adjusts to the your current driving style or past driving capabilities of how much energy was used to go somewhere. It's very accurate now, and it will adjust to what you do. It takes a while because it has to fill that buffer with current data, but once it has done that, it is extremely accurate, as opposed to other systems that just say, well, this car is supposed to go this far, and we always use that number to calculate that. That is completely off and will not help you at all. So you have basically to have to do those calculations in your head by yourself. So the other question is, why do some people have so much higher available range than others? And that is because people live in different parts of the world with different climate, different topography. So typically what we see is that people that live in flat and warm areas, for example Florida, get really good mileages because there's no hills to go up. It's nice and warm, the battery likes that, and you get a lot higher ranges. We've seen ranges of 320, 340, 350 miles for a 100% charged 64 kilowatt hour battery on a Kona, for example, in Florida. It's no problem for those guys to do that because it's just easy to get along there with nice temperatures and flat terrain. So if you don't live in the same environments like these people, you will never be able to achieve the same ranges, and that's just very normal. So how will you be able to take all these things into consideration and plan for a road trip if you don't know what the terrain is like where you're going, what the weather is like where you're going? How are you supposed to know how far you can go? Well, there's tools out there that help you with these kind of things. The most common tools are, and those are the two that I use all the time as well, is a better route planner and PlugShare. A better route planner is able to take more of these variable things into consideration. For example, it looks at the state of charge of your car, so it knows where your battery is at. It looks at the topography, hills and things like that on your route. It looks at temperature. It looks at weight of your car. You can adjust the weight if you have 4 people in there versus 1 person, for example. It looks at wind and weather and can take these things into consideration depending on your level of subscription. Then there's other tools out there like PlugShare. PlugShare is a tool that shows you the available charging stations that are around the country with very good accuracy and actually user ratings as well. So you know if that particular charger has been used lately, and if it's available, if it's working, all these kind of things. So if you use that, make sure you check in when you charge and leave a comment so other people can benefit from that as well. So these two tools are my personal favorites. There's other tools out there too, but they seem to work really good and they're really popular as well. So I hope this helped you understand how a GOM works and maybe gives you an idea how to plan for a road trip as well. I hope this video was helpful for you. If you like it, please click like down below, subscribe to be notified when I do more videos. I would really appreciate that. And other than that, have a wonderful day and see you next time. Thank you. Bye.